We had never heard of Natchez Trace. It's a very long national park, 444 miles spanning 3 states, but it's only about 800 feet wide, so there are many places you can pop in and go in and see what it's about. We found this short walk to a set of grave headstones of soldiers and thought we'd walk in there and see this piece of history. It was interesting to see, and the history of this is too much to go into, but look it up sometime, and it's pretty fascinating. Got Rhoda out finding pictures to take, and then these mounds of dirt were actually put there many years ago, decades ago, centuries ago. People carried bucket at a time to build these, and they're considered very sacred to the people of that time, and still people today from that tribe. Another thing to see when you're in the Tupelo area is the birthplace of Elvis Presley. So we went to this property and walked around and saw the different outbuildings and the property and the car that they had from back in his day. They have some nice features on the property, as well as some signs to read and statues just kind of commemorating who he was. And then very near the Elvis birthplace was this very beautiful Vietnam veteran memorial park. It was quite large. You can see some of the views that we were able to take in while here. Obviously the wall with names and other military type signage and displays. It really was very well done. We have an uncle that lives in Knoxville, and on the weekend when Tiffin was closing from June 30th through July 5th, or July 4th rather, we decided to make the 4.5-hour drive up and see Uncle Phil for the weekend. It was a lot of fun. He showed us Anakeesta, which is an area around Gatlinburg, Pigeon Forge area, with a lot of entertainment for families, a lot of restaurants. It's really well built up. There was a tram ride that we took to get up the mountain and see some views like that. Otherwise, you just walk around, take it all in. There are several things to do there. There was a tower that we climbed up, you can see in the background there, and then from up there you can see some really spectacular views of the area. It's really well done, really a neat place, and it's worth the time to go there. One of the businesses we wanted to see was this giant Christmas store, and I happened to see somebody there that was worth sneaking a video of, so shared this video of this guy here in the off season. And there's a back porch that we love to sit on with Uncle Phil at his house. He's really made it into just an amazing place to hang out and chill. We were only about an hour and a half from Huntsville, Alabama, and there's an amazing rocket and space center there. So we had a picture of high in the sky, wanted to share that, but then enjoy the pictures and videos we took there at the U.S. Space and Rocket Center. It really is a magnificent facility. It's very large, lots of things on display. Saturn V rocket stood up in the air, for example. All the classic stuff, but I love the fact that some of the things they have are more recent, specifically spacesuits that SpaceX used on their civilian flight recently. They have lots of good displays to teach you about some of the realities of being in space and what it takes to stay alive with air temperature and water controls, for example. They had some good hands-on demonstrations for how to manage power as well, and solar versus battery. That was really slick. They do have to reuse all water resources, I'll just put it that way. This display here showed you the various stages of filtration. They discussed how the cost of getting a rocket into space, when you divide that cost over every pound that goes up, a bottle of water is like $9,000, to get up into space. So they can't pack a lot of water, so they have to reuse any fluids that happen to be up there already. This was an interesting display just showing how that process kind of worked and how clean they can make all the fluids to be reused again. Kind of gross, but it's a reality of space travel, space flight. They also showed us this hydroponics setup, growing vegetables in space. Rhoda's a fan of plants and stuff, so that really jumped out at her. And then we just saw various rockets and other displays throughout the facility. They showed the spaceship that SpaceX has been building, the Starship, and gave some specs on that. So it was cool to see, even though SpaceX has been around 20 years, they're sharing some of the current updates from them. Here's that spacesuit that I mentioned. It didn't look like the spacesuits of the past, so to speak. It was more modern. I remember watching this civilian flight takeoff and some of that footage as well. Kind of neat they have this in there. They also do 3D printing now. It used to be you only had the tools you could take, and with the cost of payload being so much, it became worthwhile to have a 3D printer on board. And you can see this image of a tool they printed that has multiple, I don't know, 8 or 10 or 12 functions. Here's a closer up view of that tool that they're able to print there in space. If they need a modification, they can just change it and print it again. Another spacesuit that was on display there. Spacesuits have sure changed since the original days, I'm sure, in comfort and flexibility and function, I'm sure. Otherwise, we saw quite a few different rockets and modules and all the hardware that goes along with this industry. It was really a huge place, lots of things on display. I think it took us a couple hours to get through the whole thing, trying to show some perspective there. This is the International Space Station mock-up on the ground here, so it's cool to see really the scope and size of that thing flying up there in space all this time. We did do a planetarium on the James Webb. Excellent video, worth the time for sure. And then there were lots of outdoor displays that were really too large to bring indoors. I think these were the fuel tanks for the shuttles, Discovery and the various shuttles. I forgot how many shuttles they were till we were there, but there were quite a few. They had aircraft that were shuttle training. This was a shuttle training aircraft that they used to practice without using the... Of course, we had to try on a real spacesuit, right? That was fun. More scale, the Saturn V rocket. My friend Eric knew what this was upon sight. He didn't have to be told. He just knows these things off the top of his head. He loves rockets quite a bit. Saw a Chinook helicopter on the ground outside in that display. The view inside the back of it was pretty interesting. Hope you're not claustrophobic. And just more aircraft and whatnot out in the yard. And then there's obviously military applications when it comes to rockets and space, so there are some military applications on display out here as well. And then sometimes it's just a rocket thruster, rocket booster, not connected to a rocket, but just to show you the sheer size and magnitude of what it takes. Submarines, you know, I'm sure there's some applications there. We were lucky to have some covered parking near the front door. For $1 an hour. We had shade, and this was a solar powered charging station, so it was always handy when you can plug in while you're there, pick up a little energy, and then the price was right. I would have paid $1 an hour just for the shade. As always, thanks for watching. Thanks for enjoying the journey with us. We're having a really great time with this. And again, if you don't mind, please like and subscribe. We would like to attract more eyes on our content, and this helps YouTube know that people are interested and helps them present it to others searching for similar content. Thank you very much. Have a good day.